Hawks fans, how are we all going? It is an exciting week this week. We are playing in our first ever final in 6 years. Our last final being a semi-final against Melbourne, which we got smashed. Not great, but we're back in the finals and we're playing against the Bulldogs this time. There's a bit of finals history of the Bulldogs, and I thought I'd bring along someone, Blake Brown, one of the biggest Bulldog supporters you'd ever meet.
Yeah, cheers for getting me on. I think this is just going to be set up to be one of the best elimination finals in history. Both teams looking red hot. The fans are going to get around this game. It's going to be exciting. Got plenty to chat about, which will be good.
Now, the Bulldogs this year have been very similar to Hawthorn in the fact that the start of the year was a bit average and all of a sudden just killed it. Just did not stop basically to the end of the season and kept putting up pretty brilliant numbers week in, week out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think both teams have timed their run quite nicely. I think Hawthorn, I think they have been a little bit more consistent than the Bulldogs. The Dogs were a little bit more up and down throughout that later patch of the season where Hawthorn have just been go, go, go. So I do think Hawks are coming into a little bit better form, but you never know with the Dogs what you're going to get.
And the tools at the Bulldog, it's something that's been a bit of a topic for discussion ever since the matchup was, going to happen. The tools at the Bulldogs, you're got to be pretty confident with that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we've got kind of the Dogs forward line. It's very tall. You've got Jamari Eagle-Hagan, Aaron Norton, Sam Darcy. You've got Lob, who can also kind of rotate through there as well. But then I kind of having a look at Hawthorn's forward line. To me, it seems a little bit more of a smaller one. Obviously, you've got Chola in there, but you've also then got Ginnivan, you've got Watson, you've got Bruce. So they've got a bit more of a smaller forward line. So it'll be interesting to see what forward line is going to prevail because I think it's two very different forward lines.
I think the word that's been going around is that if the Dogs can't kick straight, the Hawks will win closely. But if the Dogs can kick straight, people are saying that the Dogs will win by 40 points. I don't know if that's exactly true. That could just be my bias coming out. But
well, I don't know about you, but I've throughout the week, and I know we've still got a week to go, but I've been thinking about like hundreds of different scenarios on how this game can play out. Like the Hawks just come out and they just can't be stopped. The Dogs, win a close one. The Bont, well, it's just so many scenarios I've thought of in my head, and I don't know about you, but I feel like there's just like hundreds of ways that this game could just potentially play out.
There's a lot of ways this could play out, and both positive, both negative.
Yeah.
I think really the game starts in the midfield. Really, it's
Yeah.
just such a. Both teams are so exceptional in the midfield moving forward. Of course, Hawthorn a lot more chaotic than the Bulldogs. I reckon they're
Yeah.
just playing chaotic football, and our halfbacks playing that same sort of style, like Josh Weddle.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how the Bulldogs match up against that.
Well, I don't know too much, but in terms of clearances, what would you say that the Hawks might be able to potentially match the Dogs? I feel like the Dogs probably are arguably a top 5 clearance side.
I don't know. I feel like we're very good clearance, but you do have to put in that for the last 3 weeks, we did beat teams by upwards of 60 points. So
Yeah.
that does bump it up a bit. But I do think overall we are quite a brilliant clearance team when we're on fire. And I just hope we can continue that. But you do say we do have the most clearances when teams sort of run out of puff and we're up by about 60 points at the half time. That's when
Yeah.
we start just absolutely killing clearances. Or even in the first quarter against Richmond when we kicked 50 points, that was just dominant clearances. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it is interesting because I was having a look at the Hawthorn midfield and it is a bit of a different mixture of players than what I was kind of expecting in terms of what they bring. Like you've got Newcomb in there, and then you've also got like a couple of those other players, like Hardwick. I honestly thought Hardwick was a VFL type player until this year. He's really stepped it up. Carl Amon. So I think the Hawks in midfield probably is going to be able to keep up simply just due to the kind of dynamic midfield where I think the Dogs, to be honest, are a little bit more one-sided in terms of its clearances or nothing, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But I've got a question for you. In terms of injuries, if you have any idea, what is it looking like for the Hawks? Because I have not had a look at all.
Currently, it's looking like all injured players are tests. We still do
Yeah.
have a week and a half of training, but
Yeah.
Will Day hasn't even done one full contact session since the injury.
That's a
So
big one.
that'd be that'd be interesting to see. They're hoping, apparently, I read today, to start full contact training by the weekend. But
Yeah,
like, I feel like 5 days, because we're playing Friday night. 5 days
yeah,
of full contact training, that's not a lot to come back and play a final, which is really so different to a home and away game. And realistically, CJ should be back this week. It's just a
yeah.
matter of if he'll even fit in the team, because we've got
But
Harry
do you?
Morrison who's been putting in
Yeah, he
numbers.
would look good. But then the thing is also like in terms of that, like, do you risk Will Day not just to further get injured, but like in terms of what if he comes in, gets injured straight away, and then you've got to instantly use that tactical sub. So I think like that could be dangerous. And then I heard a few rumors of maybe Chad Wingard for a potential maybe like sub spot. I don't know about that, but
Yeah,
that's that Will Day one.
Chad's looking likely
Oh,
to
he's
come
looking
back this week
likely.
for the first time.
Oh,
Like, it's a test, so it'll be pretty interesting to see if Chad can come back to the team week 1 of finals. He's been, ever since he's come to Hawthorn, really rattled with injuries, inconsistencies. But he's a bigger body now. I've actually got a lot of hope in him coming back and playing some really good football later in
where
his career. Like,
where's he going to fit in though? Like I'm looking at this Hawks forward line right now. You've got Gunston, Kalshadir, Ginnivan, Watson, Chol Walker. I don't see any of those being taken out.
I don't see any of them taking out either, but I feel like Bruce is probably last year will be his last year, you'd think.
Yeah,
And I reckon after that, Chad will take that sort of designated sub position, because Bruce has been playing that designated sub position so like incredibly.
yeah.
He comes on as a sub and kicks 4 goals. So I reckon there's a chance maybe Chad takes on that role. And yeah, we'll have to see. But I'm excited to see Chad come back, because he can kick some pretty incredible goals. He's almost like a wizard, just a bit taller and a bit older.
Yeah. And then also, I'd probably want to ask you in terms of what do you think is going to happen with the ruck battle? Because it's an underrated battle. Like, obviously, you've got English, who I'm not going to lie, at times played some pretty soft footy. He's been dominated by Ruckman, who would typically be classed as below him. But then, I mean, Lloyd Meek just played game 50, and I don't know, he's looking pretty good from what I've seen so far.
Meek is one of the great comeback stories, I think, of football. Like, it's
Yeah,
incredible. From last year, a lot of Hawthorn fans, they weren't too happy with him, and he wasn't really putting up great numbers in the VFL, let alone the AFL. And but this year he's just changed it around so much. Like, he's actually incredible. He averages the most hitouts in the league. And he, on the weekend, I was like, he killed Zeri, really.
yeah.
Probably not numbers wise, but even just getting the ground balls, like, he's actually quite an incredible ground ball get, which you don't normally see. It's like at Hawthorn, we've got players and they're sort of just playing everywhere. It's not like they're playing in their one position. And if you look at the team lists each week when they get announced, it's like there's different players in the midfield each time. It's quite incredible what we're building in Hawthorn.
It is. It's scary. And then I know it's got no relation to the actual game itself this week, but then also thinking about bringing in, well, it's pretty much confirmed now, but bringing in Tom Barras. I mean, that's that's going to get even scarier. You take out someone like a Sam Frost and then chuck in a Tom Barras, and that defense gets even scarier with the likes of like, those quicker players in Impey, Weddle, D'Ambrosio, and then obviously Sicily alongside him. I mean, that defense is looking pretty nice. And then you've obviously got those role players like Harry Morrison. Like players
Yeah,
like that could just pop up as well. You got a
we've
lot to
got
look forward
like,
to.
we've got a lot to look forward to, and this is probably not. It's probably common knowledge, but we do have Sarong's brother playing in the VFL for us, Jai Sarong, each week, and he is, compared to his brother, a massive unit. Like, he's about 6 foot, huge, and he puts up some serious numbers in the VFL. He averages a lot of intercept marks and contested possessions. It'd be interesting to see how Barras fits in the team, though. Like you said, I don't know if I'd want to take out a Frost. He's been playing like really well this year. Another great football story of really improving through a 6-month break. So I don't know, but it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it will be. And then also, this is now back on the dog side of things. I saw that this would be a big one for the dogs. Adam Treloar is questionable to play. I saw he was a test. Take out Treloar out of that midfield, and I think the dogs are going to struggle to keep up running wise. Treloar provides a run for the dogs, but if he's not out there, I think the Hawks midfield might just be way too quick without Treloar out there.
I really love Adam Treloar. As like a not a Bulldogs fan, not a Collingwood fan. He was always one of my favourite players that didn't play for Hawthorn. And I feel like he's really incredible. And to see him not play on the weekend, I would be a little bit happy. He is bloody brilliant. But that Bulldogs midfield still is so dominant possession wise. You've got Bontempelli, Liberatore, and then, oh my god, it's on my tongue. What's his name? Jack
Richards,
McRae. Jack
Jack
McRae.
McRae. Yeah.
He is an absolute ball magnet. Not this year as much as in previous years, but
No.
he can still put up some serious numbers.
Yeah, and then also the fact that even like someone like McRae, he's played maybe half the games, he's come on as a sub. The fact that even we can give Bont a rest and chuck in someone like a Jack McRae who's been an All Australian just for a couple-minute patch, I do think it's good to have depth like that. And I don't know about Hawthorn if they have that sort of midfield depth. I know they've got players like Cam McKenzie, and I guess maybe like a players like that. So I think that could also be a big factor.
We do have depth in the midfield. It's just, I feel like it's more. See, the thing is about our midfield depth is that it changes like every week. Players don't really get a weekly go as that substitute midfielder. Like we've seen Finn McGuinness a few times. We've seen Cam McKenzie. We've seen Josh Ward. It seems to really switch out each week. Henry Hustwaite. And finding a consistent player for that seems to be pretty difficult. But I really liked when Harry Morrison was that player that came sub on, but he's found his place in the team and he's playing really well, which he deserves to. He's played 100 games now and heading into his third final of his career, realistically, he'll probably get selected. But yeah, the midfield depth, I could definitely probably say the Bulldogs have more experienced midfield depth. And, of course, you played finals, was it 2 years ago now? Or did you play finals last year against Freo?
So 2022 and elim, and then obviously that 2021 grand final run, and then a few other elims, in 2020 and 2019 as well. So a few decent runs, but a few, runs cut pretty short.
And, there's no doubt you've got a lot of experience on the MCG ground. Of course, winning your premiership. I know there's not too many players left over from that premiership side, but, that young Bontempelli in the team and a few others that have, really built up some muscle, age, and we know now it's pretty much confirmed that bigger bodies win premierships. You've seen Collingwood, they were the oldest team in the competition last year. Geelong were the oldest team when they won. And same with Hawthorn, where like all our Luke Hodges and Sam Mitchells were all in their late 30s. Like bigger bodies do seem to win premierships over skinnier bodies. And that's what I'm a bit worried about. We've got a pretty young team.
Yeah, but in saying that, I mean, I know you're going to hear this from every Dogs fan, but that 2016 run, you have a look at that matchup, Hawthorn Dogs semi-final. I know you're not going to, we shouldn't really be talking about that on the channel, but
no, talk about it. It's a big occasion.
You look at that Hawks team. Obviously, we can't compare the Dogs dynasty over the past couple of years, but that Hawthorn team, deep finals runs, all these consistent players, these stars, and then that Dogs team had a few young stars. Obviously, Bontempelli was young at that age, and this just real young team. But they just found a way. So I know Hawthorn are young. I know they're inexperienced, and I know people don't take them seriously. But they are giving me, as a Dogs fan who experienced 2016 firsthand, they are looking very, very similar to what that Dogs team looked like. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you can time your run and you can get momentum going, I think they're gonna go pretty far.
I do think that the Dogs have got a big chance of winning another one with Bontempelli and another one with this team, especially because you've added on all these players like Lob and Treloar since that 2016 premiership. And I do feel like you are building something as well. I know through that sort of stage where you're at your peak, people were saying you're a chance for the top 4 and top 2 in that peak where everyone was really close. And I feel like
we should have finished top 4.
I feel like with this top 8, counting out the Bulldogs, you could switch and swap it in any way, and it'd make sense still.
Hawthorn
I don't think
one stage I thought they were going to get in.
Yeah, it's actually surprised me we've got in, and quite. I'm not going to say easily. It took us to the last game, but done pretty well.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But having a look at the finals matchups, it is a bit of a shame that we have to kind of face off this early because I wish, maybe you were actually in Brisbane, we had Carlton, and I think both teams could have gone a lot further at the same time. But it it is a really good prospect of a game. I think, regardless of what stage this game was going to be, it was going to be a cracker. But it is, in a little sense, unfortunate. I want the Hawks to go far, but then obviously I want my team to go far as well. So it is a bit unfortunate on that front, but I think the contest is going to be great.
Yeah, should be really great. Make sure everyone get down. I know tickets are sold out. I reckon they'll probably release a bit more. I think
Just get down and
before
sit
the
outside the
game
front of the
started.
Jeep.
Just get down. We're gonna have hopefully upwards of 90,000 Bulldogs and Hawks fans there. That's numbers unseen for Bulldogs and Hawks crowds.
Oh, I know, it's incredible. It is. I have never in my lifetime been more excited for a game than this. I cannot wait.
It's going to be really exciting. Everyone make sure to get down. Go support Blaze 17 as well. I'm sure you're going to be making a bit of content leading up to this game.
Oh, you bet ya. You bet ya. It's going to be great.
Thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of Rivals. Make sure support the Hawker channel. Support the Hawks. Thank you, Hawthorn. Thank you, the Western Bulldogs as well. Let's have a great game in the weekend. Let's get excited. Come on, the Hawks.